at the larger profile of family separation. So not just separating parents from their children, but other separations that have been going on. And Amnesty International did a fabulous report a couple of months ago, documented that another 5,000 to 6,000 children have been separated out from grandparents or siblings, other family members they've been traveling with, and that doesn't get officially counted as family separation because it's not the parent and child unit. And also the separations that are taking place because there aren't sufficient documents to establish that parent-child relationship. So we're not just talking about the 2,700 children separated during the July peak of zero tolerance. We're also talking about an additional 2,000 to 3,000 separated since Trump came into office, and then an additional 5,000 to 6,000 separated out because of these logistics in terms of the policy. So we're talking about maybe close to 10,000 children separated from their families.
So overall, what do these rulings, what do they do for the families that have been separated at the border? I mean, must they now be reunited, and do they have this class action lawsuit potential to gain something?
So let's say best case scenario that they rule they have to be reunited. But the real question, Alex, is where is the support coming in, monetary and logistical support, to reunite these families? You know, the government isn't going to be providing these resources. And here is where organizations such as the ACLU, other nonprofit organizations have really stepped in and paid for flights for parents to come up from Central America up to the border and turn themselves in, ask for asylum, ask to be reunited with their families. Just this past weekend, we saw, I think, 27 families being brought up from Central America from these nonprofit organizations. So yes, maybe a ruling might help clear the way in terms of the bureaucracy, but in terms of physically getting these parents who have been sent back to Central America to reunite with their children, that's going to be a much bigger effort, and one that the government really isn't doing anything proactively
Well, particularly to the point that, you know, the government doesn't even keep accurate numbers on how many families have been separated and children still remain in custody. I mean, it's mind-numbing when you think about it from that perspective, just from one single family that's not being counted. But let's talk about what Customs and Borders Protection have recently done, which is released the numbers about the southern border, with a total of 76,106 people crossing the border without authorization. That was just last month in February. You know, this is the highest number in 12 years. So can authorities at the border handle this influx of the refugees and migrants?
Right. So what an irony, Alex. Remember that President Trump campaigned on saying, I'm going to solve the undocumented immigration problem. We're going to lower the numbers. And we're seeing a record high number. And this has to do with the fact that these folks are getting frustrated that they can't seek asylum at the ports of entry because of the metering President Trump has put into place. They're so desperate, they're frustrated, and they're just trying to go at it through crossing in between ports of entry, which is very dangerous. And they're turning themselves into border patrol. So yes, we're seeing similar numbers to those we saw during the George W. Bush administration, but we're comparing apples to oranges if we look at the types of immigrants. These immigrants are families, they're asylum seekers, whereas previous immigrants were usually young single males coming for economic reasons to work in the United States. So a very different paradigm that we're seeing today, and it's not as easy to repatriate these folks who are seeking asylum. So a double whammy here. Not only do we have record numbers of immigrants coming over, but because they can't be sent back automatically, we have record numbers of immigrants being detained.
Yeah, all duly noted. Victoria DeFrancesco, thank you so much. I know we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Alex.
It was a solemn occasion in the wake of tragedy, but was it appropriate for President Trump to sign Bibles? That's next.